If you're writing a book to make money, then I'm sorry, if you have that mentality that you're writing because you want to make money, then this is not something for you. When you have something, sometimes you do take things for granted. When you have good health, when we have money, when we have, we are able to take care of our needs. So we just assume that it is so everywhere. Like whatever I have, the other person has. But when now that thing that you have been taking for granted decides to, if it's that job, you lose your job. If it's that person that you're in a relationship decides to walk away, and then now you realize, oh, what I had was good, I should have cherished. I'm Carol Ong'ayo, a girl from Kisiland. So I am a teacher by profession. However, I've not been active in that field. So currently what I do is I do writing. I'm a ghostwriter. I also do editing. So those are the profession at the moment that, it's keeping me occupied and busy. Yeah, so aside from writing my own books, I do ghostwrite for other authors and edit some of their works. Yeah.
That's actually amazing about you. And now that you mentioned that you're an author, let's just get straight to it, even as we will come back to you taking us through the journey. How has it been, the writing, the challenges, and everything in between? Which genre are you specifically aligned to? Or are you just flexible?
So I am quite flexible, so to say, because when it comes to creativity, you can never limit creativity. So it's just that you try a certain genre, see how people receive it, and if you see that you're getting positive feedback, so you go ahead and try some other works. So for my case, I can say I do fiction, non-fiction. So we call it creative non-fiction. At the same time, fiction. So I'm in between those two sort of genre. But at the moment, what I do is I write short stories. I've done some, novels, not yet published. But what right now I'm focusing on is doing short stories in the creative non-fiction way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to know where you draw your inspiration to write, because also with the realization that most people could be, now that you mentioned you're a teacher by profession, and in our own assumption as individuals, we just assume, oh, you're a teacher, so this thing is very easy for you, most especially if you're doing, if you're aligned to the literary world. So where do you draw your inspiration, and when did you realize that you can start actually writing?
Okay, so I first of all knew that I could write back in high school. So I used to write compositions, and then my English teacher would come and read them in class. So at first I used to think, okay, have I messed up? Because the first incident that it happened, he came, issued the other papers, and remained with my paper. So he just called one student to come and read the composition. So I was just there wondering, what have I done? Have I written something that is so bad that it has to be read in front of the class? So once the student finished reading the composition, and then he just asked the class, what do you think about this composition? So of course they were a bit, scared to give their honest opinion. So one just stood up and said, "Child, that composition is very awful." So everyone laughed. And then he just asked another student, "How do you see this composition?" So the other student was like, "It's quite unique, teacher." So he said, "Yes, this composition is quite unique." So he said the kind of creativity that is in this composition, I don't expect it for Form 2, because it was when I was in Form 2 is when I realized, okay, I can create something that is, out of the ordinary. So he called me aside and told me, you have a knack for writing. And I was like, okay. So he inspired me to write. So from there on, I was writing romantic novels. I will share them in class. So there used to be a long queue. Once I'm done with a chapter, I issue out to my fellow students. They start reading. And then from there, I sort of got the encouragement to read. And at the same time, I was writing plays for the drama club. So it gave me that encouragement, people were accepting what I was writing. And so I just said from there on, even if I don't, venture into writing as a career, I'll one day publish a book. So that is what kept me going. And that's where my inspiration for writing started. At the same time, what inspires me, I can say day to day, activities, my own personal life, people that surround me. Because life is very interesting. You find that the people that you interact with, there are some experiences that they are going through that, they feel shy to talk about it.
True.
Or even I personally, I can go through something that I feel if I share with someone, there will be, that judgment. There's that judgment that will come with it. So I just said, okay, when I'm writing, I'll just hide behind fiction. So it's hard for, someone to pinpoint, these stories is hers, these stories for this person. So I just said, whatever comes in my mind, whatever experience, whatever I see, that is what I write. So it's more of, it is inspired by real life events, things that I go through, my friends, family, people that I know, or even sometimes, so, when you're in the internet, you come across something and, okay, this is a very interesting topic. Why don't I, venture into this, do some research, and after that you find, okay, I can write something about this. So yeah, my inspiration for writing, as I've said, real life events, and this dream was born back in high school. I even mentioned it in one of in my books that this dream was born back in high school when I decided to do my first publish my first book. I'll say I did it with all the wrong intentions, because I was, I think, 24, if I'm not wrong. I was 23 actually. So I was in my third year in campus. I was very broke. So I used to see, I was doing in campus, I was doing English literature. So we'll see, how our coursework will be told, read this sort of set books, this number of books. So I just sat down and asked, so these people who have written this book, they are making money because we are reading their work. So why don't I write a book and then make money from it? So I sat down. I had some ideas that had already jotted down. I just said, let me pick some of the ideas and run with them. So I wrote, but I didn't have money. Remember, the reason why I'm writing this book is because I wanted money. So I didn't have money to publish. So I reached out to one of my mentors, and he told me, okay, if you're confident with the book, I'm going to help you. So he linked me up with someone who edited the book, who did the design. So at the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm becoming a millionaire. I am becoming a millionaire. So I was very determined to ensure that book was a success. So we finished the design and everything. So it came time to launch the book. So I wanted to have, those famous people to come and endorse my book. And I tried looking for one. And of course, an upcoming author, some of them don't even know you. So I was really disappointed on that part. But at least I got some people who were able to, support my idea. And I launched the book. And I only sold 20 copies. So I was not even able to recover the money that I'd spent on that project. So I was very discouraged. And I stopped writing. I said, this thing, I've put this much effort, I've invested, and I've only sold 20 copies. So I was not happy. I was not happy about it. And then I just stopped writing. That was back in because I launched the book 2019. So the whole of 2020, I did a certain guidebook for Kiswahili, Kigogo, back then. So this one, I was writing it with the mentality that, I'm a teacher. So once I joined a school, I'm going to serve my books to them. So I did that guidebook and I gave it my all. So once the guidebook was ready, I went, published it, and decided to sell it in schools. But now, there's this rule that you can only sell books if they are approved by KCD. So it was not received so well. That now again discouraged me the second time. I was like, this writing doesn't make money. Because as I mentioned, the first initial, my initial thought was I was to write, make money from it. So I was discouraged. So I stopped writing again. Up until 2022 now, when I attended a book fair. And then I met one of sort of my mentor who had come to my first book launch. And then I was like, your books will be here. Why your books? And I was like, I don't even know, because I stopped. Remember, after I sold those 20 copies and then I did not get, return customers and all that. So I'd even forgotten that I'd written a book. So I was just going there because I love reading. So I decided, let me attend that book fair and just get some books and read. So when I met him, he asked me, why your books? And I was like, I stopped writing. He was like, why? And the way you write so well. I told him I didn't make money. He laughed. Yes, if you're writing a book to make money, then I'm sorry, if you have that mentality that you're writing because you want to make money, then this is not something for you. So I sat down and I asked myself, okay, I do love writing, I do love reading. Yeah, it has not yet given me money, but how about I change my approach? How about now, instead of writing to make money, why don't I write to inspire people? So that, gave me the psyche to write. But I still did not write because that was back in 2022. Until now, last year, when I was going through some personal sort of turmoil. I had left work. I decided to quit my job. And things were not making sense because now, I have bills to pay. My backup didn't work. And I was sort of depressed. And I had these emotions, these feelings that were not expressed. And I was beginning to get angry. I was very irritable all the time. And then I just went online and I read something that sort of inspired me now to pick a pen and start writing again. So I was like, okay, why don't I decide to give this writing another try? Mm-hmm. But now this time round, not with the focus of making money from it, but a way of channeling my feelings, my emotions. Maybe there's someone out there who's going through the same thing that I'm going through, but because, we cannot meet in person to talk about it. But if someone picks my book and reads it, and then we'll find out, okay, this thing called life, the issues that we go through, it's not unique. Everyone goes through the same thing. Mm-hmm. So that's what led me now to do my second book. The one I launched in October. The one now called Whispers of the People.
Last year?
Yeah, last year. So so my first book was 2019. I went on a strike because I did not make money until now. Last year is when I decided, okay, let me give this writing another chance. Yeah.
So that's when you now started to get back to your feet and to
Yes, now
take it on a serious
now
level.
I took writing because it's the only thing I could do at the moment. Remember, now I've left work. I'm not currently working. I have all this time to myself. When you're very idle is when, those inner demons come out and you just find yourself, doing things that you did not intend to do. So I said, I've been given this time. Why don't I just do something with it? Because the passion of writing was inside me. I want, because I've always wanted to have a library full of my books. So that has been my goal, dream. So I said, there's no way I'm going to have a library full of books and I've only written one book and the other one is not even being read at the moment. So that's I think that dream again was born.
Now take us to how many books you've published so far that I've seen, all the physical copies that people have, and do you have e-copies? Because I understand nowadays they also do sell the e-copies for the digital readers. So, yeah.
So far, I have 2 published books that are already in the market. So I'm currently releasing my 3rd book on Friday, on 14th. So at the moment, the available hard copy. I've not yet. Okay, there's advantage of reading soft copy, but I'm trying to build this culture of, reading, getting a hard copy and reading it. So it's part of the culture that I'm trying to instigate. Instill. So they're not available in hard copy at the moment. So I mean soft copy. So if you want the book, it's either you walk to a bookshop or you order. So they are not available on soft copy. But it's something that I will eventually, look into, and also audiobooks, because now we have to be diverse. The market has changed. I also enjoy listening to audiobooks. It's just that with audiobooks, you also have to look at the originality of it. So I cannot get a voiceover from, someone from the US to do the voiceover. Doesn't bring the uniqueness. Remember, I'm an African author. So I have to also embrace that, African in me. So it's something that I'm also working on, getting a good voiceover actor or actress to recite the books in the, let's say, the Kenyan way. Yeah. So currently, those are the 2 things I'm trying to look into. But at the moment, the books are only available at copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
To that. Now, I want to, my focus is now on the book that you're launching. And before you even dive into that, maybe if you can just tell us in brief about maybe the first book that you published, the inspiration that you got, and so that we can now dive into now the main book of the discussion.
Okay. Yes. So my first book was this one, Breaking the Chains. Yeah, so this was my first book. As you can see, it's a very small book. So then the idea behind this book was I was just trying to, shed some light on the limitations that limits us as human beings, because we are free beings. We are no longer in the war zone. We are free, like we have that freedom of doing whatever we want by the law. Yeah. However, you find there are people who are still in bondage. Either their culture, they're still bondage to their culture, they're still bondage to their religion. So there are still chains that are tying us down. So it was more of a guidebook to help us break from those chains, those things that are holding us back, that are not making us, grow in life as a person. So I talked more of identity and purpose. So it talks more of those, how to find your identity and how to focus on your purpose. Yeah. So that was the message of this book. So this was the first book. And then I did my second book, which was now Whispers of the People. So Whispers of the People is a collection of 11 short stories. So this is more of my personal experiences. Like some of the stories here is what I had gone through in life. At the same time, some of them were drawn, they were inspirations from the people around me. So this one, each story, initially I wanted to do a novel, and each chapter had to talk of a certain topic. But I realized I would be limiting, because if you're talking about depression is a very sensitive topic. I mean, most people, out of 10, 2 or 3 people are depressed. So I could not have done justice just writing a chapter or 2 of such a topic. So this book I did, I sampled few topics that I wanted to address. So there's one of, identity. I'm one person who's advocating for that, because I feel there's a lot of potential that has not yet been utilized or discovered, and we try so much to limit ourselves. We try to limit ourselves. We don't want to take these risks. So I touched on that. I touched on discovery, self-discovery. So there's a story of a woman who thought, after she was left by her husband, she thought that is the end of life. But she managed to navigate being a single parent, how she managed to navigate that and successfully, raise a child. So those are the things that I was looking at. I also mentioned there's a loss of a child, how to overcome such. There's a story that talks of deception, how when you allow people too close, those close people, they're the ones that stab you at the back end. And when it happens, it's the least that you expect. So I've narrowed it down to at least 11, topics that I've talked in my books. Yeah, so this was now the second book that I did. As I've mentioned, it was a collection of short stories. So maybe I can talk about Whispers of the People, because it's the title of the book. So Whispers of the People, the setting was done in the ancient time. So it talks of a young boy called Akundo, who was born out of mysterious circumstances. The mother was unmarried and she really wanted to have a child. So she went and made a pact with the gods and told them, I will do whatever it takes to have a child. And so when the gods granted her wish, they gave her an ultimatum. They told her, okay, we are going to give you a child, but we need a human sacrifice. And that sacrifice is going to be you. So you are going to trade your life for your child. And since she was desperate, she wanted to be a mother. Even if she was not going to raise the child, she agreed to it. So Akundo was born. So when he was born out of not normal circumstances like you and I. Both mother and father. So he didn't have a father because his circumstances, how he got into the world was because the mother made a pact. So once he was born, he was given two powers. So he was given that the evil side and the dark and the light. So it was his destiny to choose which path he needed to take. Will he decide, because now he had the power, will he decide to use his powers for the good or for the bad? So generally the concept of that story was talking about each one of us. We are born with good and evil in us. So how we choose, how the people we choose to become, that is our own doing. It's our own destiny. It's our own. It's us who decide. I can decide to be a good person. I can decide to be a bad person. That one, it's not even fate, or that one is a decision that one person decides to make. So for him, he chose to use his power to save the village. So the whispers came from the people. Now they were wondering, will this boy going to be our savior, or is he going to be our destroyer? Because he had the powers to do both. And also it shows how, the sacrifices that our parents make for us. Because Nabiria, that is the mother of Akundo, will have decided, okay, this is a far too much price to pay. Let me just find a husband to marry me and give birth to a child. But she decided to make that sacrifice for her child. So it also shows, the sacrifices that our parents, those sacrifices that people make so that our lives can be better. So it talks, it's quite broad. It's how you choose to interpret it. So yeah, that is now, that's the book, The Whispers of the People. So I'll not talk much into it because I know there are people who have not read. So I don't want to kill, to kill the story. Yeah.
That's like what? What alert?
Sorry?
Whenever you want, spoiler.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, I don't want to give that spoiler alert.
But it's an interesting one now that you've even given us a gist. So anyone who is looking to reading that's just one of the stories, the intriguing stories that they'll also catch. And so now into your book that you're going to launch on the 14th of February. Should I assume that will be your first for this year?
Yeah, it's going to be my first.
How are you feeling about it?
I'm excited. At the same time, I'm nervous because this is quite different from the other books because this one carries real life stories of people. So even before I decided to write the book, I had to, internalize because some of the things here are very triggering. They're very triggering. So I don't know how it's going to be, the reception of the book and also how people are going to take it. But I'm excited. I'm excited to share these stories to the people out there and also to show that, the situations that we go through in life, they are not unique. Everyone is going through them. It's just that they don't talk about it or they have never found an avenue to, express themselves. Yeah.
Why the title, The One Who Got Away?
So, The One Who Got Away. As the title says, this is a person who, when you have something, sometimes you do take things for granted. When you have good health, when we have money, when we have, we are able to take care of our needs. So we just assume that it is so everywhere. Like whatever I have, the other person has. But when now that thing that you have been taking for granted decides to, if it's that job, you lose your job. If it's that person that you're in a relationship decides to walk away, and then now you realize, oh, what I had was good. I should have cherished this thing or this person. So the one who got away, it's basically a man who regrets how he treated his wife. And when she decided to walk away, it's when he realized, okay, I had a beautiful wife, I had a good woman, and I let her go because of my own actions. So that's about the title, The One Who Got Away.
So, were you do you say inclined to specific themes,
Yes.
specific topics while writing? So you can tell us about that, and also how was it for you now writing down stories, real experiences from specific or different individuals? Because now I'm imagining having that one-on-one session, an interview with them, getting their stories. So was it overwhelming? Amma, how was it like for you, even emotional?
Okay. Yeah, it is very overwhelming because, as I mentioned, some of the stories here are very triggering. But I can say, even before the idea of writing this book, because I had a different idea that I wanted to go with. I'd already started a certain novel that I was working on. So how even this idea came about was I'd written a certain article. The article was talking about finances in relationship and marriages. So I had asked the question of, between the husband and the wife, if the wife makes more than the husband, who should be in charge, or who should make the financial heavy decisions? Is it the man or the woman? Or is it the one who earns more or the man of the house? So I just posted the article and I went about my business. And then I got a comment on my email. There's this guy who had responded and said, actually, I am in the same predicament. So I was like, okay. So we chatted for a while, and then that is back now email. We were responding by email. And then I realized, okay, this person is not giving me the tea that I want. So I asked him, is it okay if I give you my number, you give me a call, we talk? And then I was like, fine, no problem. So I shared my number. The following day, he called me, asked me, is it the right time to talk? And that's fine, I'll make, because this is juicy. So let me make some time. We talk. So he gave me a call, and I think he just needed someone to listen, because it's something that also men are going through. Wanakufa kiume. If it's something I also try to advocate in my books, because I don't want to paint men as the devil. So I try to, because in this book I've given scenarios of where men are toxic and also where women are very toxic. Because we always try to, it's cliche. If you hear anything to do with abuse, you'll always say it's the man who's abusive. Yeah. So in this case now, it gave me a perspective now to to write this book from two different angles, from victims who have been abused by their husbands and those ones who have been abused by their wives. So the guy gave me a call and we talked, and that's when I realized, okay, people are suffering, people are going through a lot out here. And so he just gave me in brief that he's a civil servant, the wife is very loaded. She works with a very big NGO in Nairobi, and she earns almost 10 times what he earns. So they have two daughters, and so when it comes to decisions that concern finances, she's the one who always handles them without even consulting. So if the school, she's the one who decided to take them to international school without even consulting, or where they currently live. So it's like he's just there as a placeholder. You are here as a husband. I just want to show that I'm married. But when it comes to fulfilling the duties of a husband, he cannot be able to do that because first of all, she looks down on him because your money is what I your salary is what I used to fuel my car. So you can imagine such a scenario where, so his story sort of gave me an insight. So I did another article where I just shared another scenario where marrying your type, because when it comes to marriage, it's a very sensitive thing. Sometimes you get married out of convenience, and we don't look at the long run. So you find maybe we got married because we just came out of university, we were dating. At that time, it felt right. So I get money. And then I start seeing, okay, this person I got married, this was not my type. And I realized, okay, so I have money to get my type. So you find people now getting into extramarital affairs, one having a side chick or having a side boy. So you see, so I was just asking how crucial it is for one to marry their type. And then from there, I got another person who says, okay, me, I married this lady, but she's not my type. So we started talking again. So I was like, okay. So I got another idea. So out of that now, it made me think, why don't I look for stories that talk of a certain topic? And I decided to go with people who are either in toxic relationships, people feel trapped in relationships, or anyone who has felt like this decision that I made, I should not have done that. I should have maybe waited, or I should have walked away very early when I saw these signs. But I didn't want to narrow it down only to, marriages, because I was asked the question, you are writing about marriage and you're not even married. Because now, how are we going to take you seriously? You are not married, you have not been that institution for you to understand. There's one I can say from a third point of view, and there's one you're speaking from experience. So that's why I said I'm not going to attack only people who are married. So it cuts across. So there are stories that talk of toxic family. There's one that talks of a toxic family. There's one that talks of a toxic workplace. It was drawn from my own inspiration. And so some are people that my friends. There's one, because they come to me as a therapist. They have this assumption that as a writer you know everything. So sometimes when I'm listening to them complaining about their relationship and all that, so it gave me insight. So there are some that I sat one-on-one, we had that conversation, and they gave me their story. And there are some that I drew from the experience that what I've had and what I've just seen. So I managed to come up with stories that were talking of emotional abuse. I've really emphasized on that because I'm also an advocate of mental health, because I've been in a situation where I've been depressed, and I just wished people would reach out and not talk to me, because when you're not emotionally okay, it's hard for people to tell. Then when I come here, if I walk here with bruises, you will know this person is being abused, because there's evidence that something is wrong. But when I'm not okay emotionally or mentally, unless I start acting erratic, that is when you can know. Or if you're very keen, that is when you can tell this person is not okay. But before it reaches to that point, this person will have suffered, will have gone through all that mental breakdown to a point where it's visible. So I said, this is a topic that most of us are going through. emotional abuse. So I decided to emphasize on that. I've also talked of, physical abuse and all that, but the mental abuse is where I've emphasized mostly, because these are things that unless someone talks about it, you will never know that this person is being abused emotionally. And that is now the one who got away talks of, because this lady she was being abused by words, and that is the worst form of way you can abuse someone, because the more you hear, the more you believe. If I keep on telling you, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid, and I keep on emphasizing that you're stupid, even if you know that you're not, you'll start believing. You'll start believing, yes, I'm stupid. And so that becomes your reality. And that is how emotional abuse happens. Because I'll tell you things, I'll diminish you, I'll just say negative things about you. I will thrive in pulling you down. And so the moment you accept, you give that power, it's like you're lost. Because it's starting to build yourself back again, to undo all that, or to, unlearn whatever that you've learned from this toxic person, it takes time. So before we reach to that point, I decided, let's just, give, because again, there are people who are in abusive, such emotional abusive relationships that they don't know. They think it's normal. They think it's normal for someone, to belittle you, to abuse you, to talk to you the way they want, and they call it love. So that is basically what this book is addressing.
What one particular message would you like to give to now fellow authors? Something that you feel like you can share with other authors for their benefit, and something that if they adjust, the world of literature would just be amazing.
Okay. One thing I can say is, and I think it's a challenge most of us go through as authors, is sometimes we block ourselves. In the sense, okay, let me explain. I might have an idea that I want to put across, and I feel like if I do this, I'll either be judged, or like now, for instance, as I mentioned, I'm not married, but I've focused mostly on marriage, on aspect of marriage. So if I was to sit back and tell myself, okay, I'm not, so how are these people going to take it? How are they going to take me seriously with this work? And yet I'm not talking, or I'm not speaking from experience. So if I let that, hinder me, that, okay, I'll wait until I'm married, until I've gone through that, it's when I'll write this book. You see, I will not have written it. So sometimes it's good to separate yourself, your personal self, from your creative self. Go there as a channel. Let ideas just flow. If you have that sensitive topic that you want to write about, write. Because you holding back, there's someone out there who's suffering. And maybe if you had decided to write about that sensitive topic, someone will come across your book and read it, and then you will have saved us all. Because I've read books that have changed my life. And I would want the same. I want someone, when they pick my book, they are not only entertained, but at the same time they learn something from it. Yeah, that is the message I was trying to put across in this book. That it's not too late to walk away. Because there's a story I've talked of, the Diary of a Dead Woman. It's a very sad story. This is a woman who died in the hands of her husband. And if only she had the courage. But she had the courage, but circumstances could not let her live. So sometimes, we try to justify why we're in these situations, why we need to be in that situation. Right now, if I'm in an abusive relationship and you tell me to walk away, the first thing I'll say, my kids. Who's going to take care of my kids? Who's going to? But you realize that you being there, you're not even helping your children. Because the more you are being abused, the more you even deviate from yourself, the more you become a shell of your own self. So you'll not even be that mother that they need. So sometimes, it's risky, but walking away, it's also an option. Don't stay in an abusive marriage. Don't stay in an abusive or toxic situation because you are scared of what will happen next. God will always provide a way. God will always provide a way. And the moment you decide to make that, you'll even realize it's not even that difficult. You realize that you can survive. You can survive that situation if you only decide to make the decision. And it's hard because if you do not decide yourself, you can, we have people walk away from marriage 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they are back. Or they walk away from a toxic relationship, they are back. Until you personally decide, I'm done with this. Until you say, I am done. That is the only way you can escape. Because we can advise. We tell you that person is going to be the end of you. But if you do not decide you yourself to, make that decision, that deliberate decision that I don't think this is working for me. I need to walk away. I need to escape this. You will never come out of that bondage.
Where do people get you? Where can people get you through the socials, and how do they get your books from where?
Okay, so at the moment, my books are stored at Luria Honest Store and Kibanga Kibanga Bookshop. So if you walk in there, you will find copies of my books. You can also, they can also do a direct order. Those ones that want to be autographed or signed, or I say I want this book to have this message, so they can get me through my personal number. Maybe I can share it. Yeah. So the number is 0723582372. So you can WhatsApp, call if you want a signed copy, or if you just want to get a copy directly from me. They can also get me on my social media platforms. That is on Facebook, Caroline Ong'ayo. It cuts across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok. Yeah, I recently joined TikTok. So if they search Caroline Ong'ayo, they'll be able to get in touch with me.